So here it is. I was born in 1953 in Jackson, Mississippi. So you do the math, I was 11 years old when I was making a public profession of faith in Jesus in the long, hot summer of 1964. I took my mom and we rented the copy of the movie The Help, Catherine Stockett's book. That was my neighborhood. That was my drugstore, my groceries. That's where we went. I recognize those people. Josephine Smith was the lady that was our helper, our maid. I never ironed a shirt until I went off to college. But Mom was in that movie. We laughed about it. She was kind of the Celia Foote character. She always had to clean the house before Joe came to clean the house. She worked right in there beside her. We recognized ourselves in that. Somebody has said that for me, the baby boomer generation, the three greatest influences were the civil rights movement, the sexual revolution, and the Vietnam War. And that certainly was true. They were huge in my life. I had a pretty high draft number, so I wasn't actually drafted, but I had friends who were. And of course, that was the living room war. We watched the body counts on the evening television, and that really helped you think through some of the deeper meanings of what life was all about. And you had to the whole war had our country so deeply divided. One of the things that was really tough to try to decide as a Christian how I was going to live it out was all this navigating all this stuff of the civil rights issues. I mean, I can literally remember when my church had a vote. My family was so close to the Merritts. We were great friends. We did stuff together all the time, played golf together, did church parties and everything. Mr. Merritt was the principal of the high school. Of course, my sophomore year, there were 2 weeks we were closed because of race riots. And I remember at our church business meetings where there was one friend of mine, a peer, who had obviously been drinking. He came up and literally took a swing at the pastor in the middle of the business meeting. I can remember more than one of those Baptist business meetings trying to navigate how do you get through all that. I had grown up in segregated schools and segregated church, but I was trying to figure out what my Christian values really said to all that. Some of the guys that were so influential in my life, Buddy Huff, Bobby Shows, they had a profound influence on my life. And they really lived out their relationship with the Lord in the midst of all that. There was another influence, the fact that my family was living out their Christian convictions. For Mom and Dad, it wasn't just something that they said that they believed. They really were all in. I mean, Dad was a deacon chairman. Mom was the president of the WMU. But it wasn't just something at church. We were there every time the doors were open, but they really lived it out. We saw them praying. We saw them trying to live out their Christian beliefs in tumultuous times. Many of my friends, perhaps because of the shifting morals and the cultural values that were changing so dramatically, got lost in drugs and alcohol, and their families were devastated by divorce. We were insulated from a lot of that because of our Christian convictions. I know that growing up, I had many people influence me beyond my family. I mean, Sunday school teachers like Mr. Karstens and Mr. Viner, different men, many of them I could name. But then also I had just guy friends, just regular peers that were really trying to live out their Christian convictions. James Cruz comes to mind. Doug Daly, an athlete that I really looked up to, a great track and basketball guy that I admired, but he taught me the importance of trying to be a Christian witness. When I went off to Mississippi College, James and I were roommates at freshman year at MC. And then I met other great guys there, Mike Pickle, Randall O'Brien, Eric Holloman, Randy Turner, guys that I really admired and respected, but they were trying to learn what it meant to be a minister. And I have to admit, I was pursued by the hound of heaven. I had a sense of calling I couldn't escape, and so I kind of boldly jumped into it. And of course, Dr. Stevens, Dr. Cooper, and hours on end with my BSU minister, Bradley Pope. Those guys had a profound impact on my life. when it came time for me to graduate and go on to seminary, a lot of my preacher buddy boys went to New Orleans, but I went to Southwestern because my aunt, Ev, she was my other mother. She was a little bit of a pioneer in women in ministry. She worked down at the Baptist building, and she had gone to Southwestern, so that's naturally where I had to go. And that, of course, is where I met my wife. We've been married 37 years. Anna's the love of my life. We have 3 beautiful children. And I'm so grateful that even though they grew up as ministers' kids, they hadn't been soured on the church. They actually have continued to serve the Lord and to love God and try to serve Him in the best way they can. Well, I can just tell you it's been an adventure. I have never regretted trusting Christ as my Savior. I'm Tommy Anthony, and I am His.